All right, welcome back, everybody. My name is Ethan Bianchi, and I have a very special guest here with us today. He is the coach of the men's golf team here at McClatchy, Coach Ray Navarrete. Everybody, welcome on, Coach.
Hi there.
First of all, how are you? How has your family been during the pandemic with everything going on?
I think we're doing very well. Getting a little bored, but thank goodness I have golf to get me out.
That's been a common answer for a lot of coaches. It seems like a lot of people are experimenting with golf during this time because it's one of the things that you can kind of be socially distant with.
Absolutely.
Do you think that it being one of the few options right now, do you think it's going to lead to a rise in the sport?
I sure hope so. I see a lot of people out there in large groups with various ages, with small children all the way up to grandparents golfing together as families. So it's really encouraging to see this large participation. And I think we'll see a slight uptick in participation in McClatchy.
So going to you, I heard you were born and raised in the Sacramento area. What was it like growing up here, and how has it changed over the years in your eyes?
Well, I went to McClatchy, went to Cal, went to Crocker. So I am pretty connected to the community. Sacramento's changed a lot. I think that over the years, we've gained a lot of great cultural opportunities for us to engage in. More restaurants, more museum options, more art, more of an enriched community experience. I think our community has grown. We have the Golden One Arena downtown, which is great, super convenient for people who love live concerts. But I think it's changed a lot, and I think it's changed for the better in many ways.
I would agree with that. So you're a counselor at West Campus, but you've coached at McClatchy for several years. What led you to choose McClatchy besides just going here, or was it something else?
Well, I worked at McClatchy for a year. I was a counselor at Rosemont High School at the time, and it was during the Great Recession. And my position at Rosemont was cut, and I was sent to McClatchy. And then after that year, I returned to Rosemont. But at my time at McClatchy, I had the good fortune of being in Miss Taramina's office when AD Feickert was going through, and he was looking for a coach. And I said to Coach Feickert, I don't know much about golf, but I'm very organized, and I will do my best to make sure students have an opportunity to play and have an organized experience with golf. And I brought on a bunch of assistant coaches that had a lot more knowledge in the sport so that I could increase my own personal knowledge of the sport. So I just had the good fortune of being in the right place at the right time.
I was going to ask, what got you into golf when you were younger, but it sounds like it was kind of just a spur of the moment opportunity. It wasn't necessarily the sport itself.
Yeah, no, it was a unique opportunity, and I was already starting to think about getting into golf a little bit. I had played a few times in high school, a few times in college, but never really picked up the sport, and really just had a general understanding of it. But I love the sport, and I'm really grateful for having the opportunity to learn everything I have over the past 7 years. So I've stuck with it during that time, and I set myself a 10-year goal. My 10-year goal was to really be confident in being able to call myself or consider myself a coach at that point. I think that because there's so much to learn in this sport, it's widely considered one of the most complicated sports besides polo or boxing, because it requires so many different things, but then it can also be very simple, if you just allow yourself and trust yourself to apply what it is you're learning. So it's definitely been quite an experience.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique experience. I know a lot of the people I've talked to so far, it's been they played the sport when they were younger and they got older, and the opportunity came up, so they went back to it and gave to the next generation. But it's interesting to see somebody who it wasn't really a part of their life, but they just kind of embraced it and
yeah,
are now learning about it as they go too.
Yeah, it's very humbling in that regard.
Were there some like difficulties as you were starting out in the first couple years? Like,
oh my goodness. Oh goodness, it was rough. It was so tough. It's really hard. So I had an assistant coach at that time so I played sports at McClatchy. I swam on the swim team. I played football. I played rugby for a league that was like Kennedy and Christian Brothers. We all shared this league it was called Stag. I was not ready for the temperament of golf. The temperament of golf practice is so relaxed in comparison to other sports. Like I know you're a student athlete, and I can imagine you practicing for basketball. And I just think about the intensity of basketball practice, because I've been on the court during basketball practice with coach. And golf is nothing like that. It's just, students are just putting, and they're, it's a very, very relaxed environment. And so I just really didn't know how to apply myself during that first year, coming from these other with a more intense sport background. And so it really just kind of took some time to learn the sport, learn how coaches can be a good source of information for players. I was terrible. My first year, it was really hard to play, and keeping like a triple bogey off the scorecard was hard for me at that time. So a lot's changed, and there's been a lot of growth, but yeah, it was a tough first year, especially when we had a couple talented players over the years, and we had a couple talented players that had some really good opportunities come up, and I really just am happy that we were able to provide them with the opportunity to compete.
Going off of that a little bit, so like obviously had some difficulties at the beginning, even growing along the way. How do you feel about the future of the program and the team that you have right now?
I worry about the future of the program just because there's so much competition for male sports in the spring semester. Baseball, my son plays baseball, and there's volleyball, I believe, is a spring sport. Mm-hmm. And it's just, there's a lot of competition for our student athletes, and there's a lot of opportunities for our student athletes. And golf is always kind of like that, well, I don't know, kind of sport. And I think our players who may not have much of a background in it just are a little intimidated of the idea of going out there. And there's just a lot of startup costs associated with golf. A bag, a club, tees, tennis or golf balls. Those things can be pretty expensive if you go buy a lot of those items new. Fortunately, one of my assistant coach, who was a great mentor to me, Robert Rickey, he's a PGA card holder. He put me in contact over the last few years with the right resources to get a lot of that gear for our players, and to have that kind of create that opportunity for our players to compete, even if they show up with nothing. So I think that's been very encouraging. I do worry because we need 6 players to compete. Mm-hmm. In golf, you can show up with 5, and you won't be able to drop the lowest score. If you show up with 6, or the highest score rather, if you show up with 6, you can drop your highest score. If you show up with 4, you're forfeiting. So it's really important for us to have a minimum of 6 players, and that can be tough. I mean, we've never not achieved that, but it's been
close.
It's been close.
So you talked about you're a counselor at West, and you've been at Rosemont. You're a coach. Like, I would argue that those are 2 of the kind of more influential positions that like could affect a kid's life. Sure. How have those experiences been rewarding for you?
I think coaching is just a really rewarding opportunity for me, because I get to understand or get a sense of a young person in a different way. It's not about academics. It's not about the campus. It's more about learning a skill that they can do and participate in for the rest of their life. My motto for golf is golf for life, golf for fun. So that's one of the things that was useful in my introduction of our new assistant coach. He has all the great, credentials that one would hope a coach would have. But what really drew him to our program was the idea that we're trying to develop young players to golf for life and then make it fun, to enjoy it. Because like I said, it's a multi-generational sport that you can play for the rest of your life. But I think that it's really rewarding to just see young people in a different setting. I'm at a school that's not unlike HISP in many ways in terms of academic rigor and high expectation. So there could be a lot of stress associated with that. And when you go out and golf, you just let go of that. You let go of that, and you just focus on being outdoors in this beautiful green environment. Often sometimes it's like beautifully landscaped, and sometimes we're taking our players to these places that they've never been before, and they could be pretty beautiful. We got to take a group of kids to the Cache Creek Valley over Cape Valley and play at Yoshidiki, which was amazing, and it was just fun to be in that environment and take players out there.
Do you think that your experience coaching has helped you as a counselor, like given you a new insight into how kids act and just what to look for?
I think it's given me a lot of insight into how structured and engaged our student athletes are. I think about my role as a counselor. I go to work, I have my set hours, there's a little bit of work that I bring home, but then I think about our students, because they're involved in school all day, and then they go right to practice. And then I start to think about, what time they have left remaining with the day to do all of the extra work. And, so I think it's given me a little bit more empathy for our students in terms of their day. There's only so much you can squeeze into a 24-hour day. And when school takes up a big chunk of that, and then practice takes up another chunk of that, I think it's helped me become a better advocate for our students in terms of helping them or advocating for them for a little bit of time or a little bit of grace.
So obviously your sport is a spring sport, but the pandemic's messed with the schedules for a lot of stuff. What do you miss most about being around your team heading into what would be the season?
I miss my team. I just miss going to the course with the guys and meeting up there and getting to go to the range or go to the academy hole or walking onto the course. I mean, I don't know if the other coaches would agree, but I couldn't imagine coaching another sport than golf. I mean, golf is like the best sport, in my opinion, to coach. Coaches get to go out there and play with the team. We get to follow the team, and as the team goes out and they're competing, you can't actually coach during a match. You're restricted from coaching. So it's not like I'm on the sideline worried about some kind of performance. We're out there, out in nature and enjoying golf. That's a great thing.
That's a pretty nice job.
That's a pretty nice job.
Yeah. So I've been asking everybody so far, you talked a little bit about you've been playing more golf, but since the pandemic hit, have you picked up any new habits or hobbies or anything?
My wife got us to plant a garden, and I think that was a Mother's Day gift that I was supposed to come through on maybe 2 years ago. And we finally built up the garden area and planted some wildflowers, and we had a really good production in our garden. I mean, we had so many vegetables and some cantaloupes and some wildflowers. It was really nice.
Nice. Do you have any final words of wisdom or a quote or anything you would like to share with us before we end this off?
I just want to tell or say to prospective golfers that our program is really just about golfing for life and golfing for fun. We really just want to get a club in someone's hand, learn how to swing that thing as best you can, and then just get out there and go for it. You know, we're not looking to break any CIF records. You know, I know we have some teams and programs at our school that does that, and that's amazing, and I love that. Go Lions. But, you know, right now our program is really just geared towards developing a love for the sport.
Nice. Well, go out and play golf, people. You know, it sounds very fun from what you've been describing, what the other golf coaches have been describing in the other interviews. But yeah, thank you so much for Coach Ray for coming on during the middle of his counseling day. I had to schedule this through his counseling app and everything. Yeah, thank you, Coach, for coming on. I had a great time. I hope you did as well. And
thank you, Ethan.
Yeah, thank you for talking about golf and life and all the things during the pandemic. Come back next week for more, everybody, and thank you for watching.